Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the first official Old Broad book review, separate and apart from the weekly palette. I've decided to separate these out because it's making the weekly palette run too long. I really don't like to put up videos that run more than 15 minutes if I can help it. And also, I know not everybody's going to be interested in watching the book reviews. So, before I get on with tonight's book review, I want to briefly address some issues from the first two books because these were brought up in the comments. First of all, I had some things about the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon that bothered me that I mentioned in that first book review, and I was speaking about it later with Richard, and he pointed out, you know, she had these little idiosyncrasies. It was up to the editor to point them out and to try to persuade her to change them. So that was really more an issue of faulty editing, and looking back on it, I'm inclined to agree with him. Second was the book by John Oller, the biography of Jean Arthur, called it was called The Actress Nobody Knew. And one of you wanted to know in the comments whether she was married or had children. And yes, she was married and did have children, did not have any children. And once when he was asked why they were divorced, her husband said, well, basically, she just wanted to be alone. So she was apparently, I mean, they had no problems between them. She just was a true introvert. There was also a suggestion of obsessive compulsive tendencies in the comments, and I'm inclined to agree. As I mentioned, she had the obsession with Peter Pan, but she had a couple other obsessions. I mean, in and of itself, being an introvert is sort of being obsessed. But she was also obsessed with animals. She always had pets, and very late in her life, she was living in wherever it is in North Carolina, where North Carolina School of the Arts is. And she was actually arrested because she was obsessed with this dog next door that the owners kept it on a chain. And finally one day she went and snuck into their backyard and removed the dog. So yeah, she was, of course, I might be inclined under those circumstances to do the same thing. I'm just saying. But anyway, nobody ever said I wasn't a little OCD. Okay, tonight's book, or this week's book, one of the books I read, was one that Dr. Dre had mentioned that she had read, and that I listened to on audio. This book is by Liane Moriarty, and it's called The Husband's Secret. And it's really interesting. It's about a woman who, well, it's about three women, but the first of them is kind of a super mom who everything is going right in her life. And one day while her husband is on a business trip, she discovers excuse me. She discovers a letter from him to her in a box of receipts that she knocks over while she's looking for something else in the attic. And the letter starts, "My dear Cecilia, if you're reading this, then I've died." So that's early in the book, and that grabs you and makes you want to keep reading. So it's about the ramifications of this letter and how her life starts to fall apart. It's about another mother who is the opposite of supermom. She's shy. I would go so far as to say introverted. She believes she has social anxiety. She's a good mother, but her husband ends up having an affair, and she leaves town and goes to live with her mother for a while till she can sort this whole mess out. And the other woman is a grieving mother whose daughter was murdered when she was, I believe, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. So it's how all these women come together, and it addresses a lot of serious moral questions, and in the end, sort of addresses how fate does or does not play a part in our lives. I liked this book very much. My complaint with it was that it was very hard for me to keep the two leading females separate. Every time a new section came, I'd have to go, no, wait, is this the super mom or the shy mom? And I looked at some Amazon reviews, and people who read the book as opposed to listening were having the same problem. So I attribute that to the author's inability to give different voices to different characters. And by that I mean personal idiosyncrasies in terms of word choices, and also the rhythms with which we speak. And this is a different thing that I'm talking about when I talk about the idiosyncrasies of repeated words in Outlander. Because in Outlander, that's the narrative voice, the voice of the author doing those repeated idiosyncratic words, not the voice of the characters. So, whereas in this case, it would be a bit of an attribute because it would help you know one character from the other. Anyway, it was a small thing, a small complaint. This was a work, I would say, a fiction bordering on literature, maybe, because of the addressing of the serious moral issues. Anyway, I did enjoy it, and I could recommend it if you like, modern fiction. I believe that's all for this week. Thanks for watching. Love y'all. Bye.